keep these two brief, if I can find them here. I was asked a question, and I wanted to cover it real quick because it connects with something that we did just a few weeks ago when I walked through James chapter 2. It's a question about James 2:24. There are some Roman Catholic apologists who are claiming because monon only is an adverb, it modifies the verb dikaiutai, not pisteos, because pisteos is a noun. Hence, James 2:24 is denying that justification is by faith alone. Ironically, if consistently applied, this seems to be arguing that we are saved by works alone and not by faith. What are your thoughts on this claim by Roman Catholic apologists? Is there something else going on with the grammar that is causing these Roman Catholics to interpret 2:24 in this fashion? And later on, the individual asking this question pointed out that one of the primary people pushing this is one of the apostates from SES, from Southern Evangelical Seminary. I think indicated might be one of the editors or contributors to that book that we dealt with earlier, sometime last year. I think it was just over about a year and a half ago now, where we dealt with that book from all the people who've left SES and become Roman Catholics. My response initially, and I said I wanted to talk about it in the program because other people might have the same question. But my response to this individual, this brother in the Lord, initially was, this is a good illustration of why we need to bring back sentence diagramming. Because if you were to diagram James 2:24, you would see, I don't know what's going on. My phone is hopping here. It's a WhatsApp thing with my son and my son-in-law are going back and forth, and it's making my wrist vibrate repeatedly during the program. So clearly they ain't listening to me, but that's okay. They may do so at another time. But if you were to do a sentence diagram of James 2:24, and it's interesting, I did that. I'm willing to bet that my handwritten sentence diagram of James chapter 2 is in one of those boxes in the other room that will only ever see the light of day after I die. And somebody, I don't know who, has to go through all that stuff. Or maybe just throw it out and it'll never see the light of day again. It's possible. You'll let your wife do it, which means it'll never see the light of day. Just throw it out and it's done. Yeah. There are some people that might actually find some stuff in there to be of some significance and some helpfulness. But anyway, one of my assignments in second year Greek many moons ago, and this we had to do, this we did with paper and a ruler and a pen and cellophane tape, because sentence diagrams can go all over the place. And so you literally would take pieces of paper, and once you got to the edge of the paper, you would tape another piece of paper to the other piece that you were using, and sometimes it had to go down because sentence diagrams can go down a long ways. And we had to do James chapter 2. That was it. And so I've already had to do this many years ago. I know that BibleWorks does this, Accordance does this, I would imagine Logos does this. Pretty much all the major Bible programs will have diagramming modules in them. I'm not sure how many people are actually taught any longer what any of that means. But obviously, uk ek pisteos monon is a phrase unto itself. And it is the negation of what has come before. So we see that, and you have ex ergon dikaiutai, And then the modification of that is kai uk ek pistaos monon. Now, pistaos is an action noun. And that's where the individual has missed. Well, it's an adverb. Well, yeah, but if it's in a clause with an action noun, Greek adverbs can function in that way. The idea that, well, it can only... No, there's no possibility that it could ever modify anything but a verb and blah, 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 blah. And it's even ek pistaos is... You've got ex ergon and ek pistaos. Ex and ek are the same thing. The only reason that it's ex is because before a vowel, and it's ek because it's before a consonant. So they are parallel to one another. And so they're both phrases that are modifying dikaiutai. But the monon is specifically dealing with faith. What faith? Well, that's what we talked about last time. The faith back in verse 14 that has no works. And so when the Roman Catholic tries to create this contradiction between Paul and James, well, they're not even trying to do that. When they're just trying to take their dogmatic theology they've derived from other sources and cram it into the New Testament, they're stuck with a desperate situation, and they have to misrepresent James. And so I guess what they're trying to do here, I don't know why, but I guess what they're trying to do here is to say that it's somehow an even stronger argument for their side. I don't know. But it's plainly what's being contrasted here is the pistaos, going back to verse 14. It's not by said faith. True saving faith demonstrates itself as it did in the life of Abraham. Not a contrast between James and Paul if you follow James 2, beginning at verse 14 onwards. If you want to jump in, play around with things, and not really concern yourself about the consistency of reading James chapter 2, then you can come up with anything you want. But one of those places where sentence diagramming would be helpful because it would help you to see the relationship of these terms, and especially the two. You would have ex ergon coming off of the verb, and you'd have uk ek pistaos monon coming off from the verb. And those are the two things that are being contrasted to one another. And even then, you'd still be left with the interpretive question of, well, has pistaos been defined earlier in the text? And it has been. Further illustration, there's no reason to even try dealing with this text if you do not have the opportunity to sit down and go back and follow the context there. It's sort of like when Norman Geisler, I guess mentioning SES brings that to mind. It's sort of like when Norman Geisler jumps to John 6:40 to try to overthrow John 6:37. You got to follow the flow of the argument. If you're not concerned about that, if you're willing to jump up, down, all over the place, I can't help anybody like that. If people want to go there